Chiefs Kingdom. It has been a rough couple of days. Eliminated from the playoffs on Sunday, Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL and LCL, undergoes a very successful surgery last night, but is ruled out for the remainder of the season. I think it's time we focus on the future. Start thinking about guys that could help improve Kansas City. So today, we're talking 3 guys the Chiefs could draft in the first round that would be huge. The future starts now. Here we go. So, like I said off the top, Chiefs Kingdom, the focus of today's video is the draft. We are talking first round draft targets on today's episode of the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. And my name is Jackson Durham. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. And I want to hear from you guys. Before we get into it, which position would you target in the first round? If you were Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach, you're making the call today. What position are you targeting? It can be any on the roster. You could go tight end. You could go running back, receiver. Let me know in the comments, where are you headed? Well, let's get into 3 first-round targets that I think could be enormous for Kansas City, starting with Kenyon Sadiq. This is somebody you have probably heard of if you're active on Chiefs Twitter as the potential heir to Travis Kelce. Somebody that could fill that role, that could be the guy to either learn from him for a year and then take over or take over, depending on Kelce's decision, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Sadiq is fantastic. And he would fill a massive role on this team because you think about Travis Kelce. Even if he does come back next season, and he's been up and down this year, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. He's had great moments. He's had phenomenal games. He's had really rough moments. Terrible drops that have cost us games. But if Kelce does decide to come back next season, I still think Sadiq could make some sense, both for the near-term and long-term futures. Because this guy is fantastic, and this room just lacks depth behind Travis Kelce. Can we trust Noah Gray to be the guy, to even be a number 2 tight end? But we can absolutely trust Kenyon Sadiq. Check out the numbers from Oregon. Just this last season, in 11 games played, 40 receptions, 490 yards, 12.2 per catch, and 8 touchdowns. And this guy is extremely, extremely talented. We're going to talk about some of the things he does well. In my opinion, Sadiq's biggest strength is what he does after the catch. He is so athletic at his size. 6'3", well over 230 pounds, but moves like he is 30 pounds lighter. Just fantastic after the catch. Very reminiscent of a guy like Dalton Kincaid with the Bills right now. And number 2, something that he does much better than Kincaid and is a much more willing participant in is his blocking ability. I love what you get out of Sadiq as a blocker in space. Remember the words in space. We'll talk about that later. Excellent blocker on screens. They'll often have him line up out wide to run screens with their receivers. And he's great in space in the run game if he can get out matched up with a corner or with a linebacker. And speaking of matching up with linebackers, he is a total mismatch for those guys in pass coverage. Again, you're talking about that speed, that athleticism. His ability to lose people in coverage is phenomenal just based off of who he is as an athlete. And lastly, he's incredibly versatile in his usage. There's a lot of different ways that you can get Sadiq out there. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up out wide, almost like a receiver. And you can, of course, line him up traditionally in line as a tight end. A couple things you worry about with Kenyon Sadiq, though. Flipping over to the other side of it. He's got a limited route tree. And he just needs to, I think, grow in his understanding of zone concepts from defenses and how to attack open grass. When things don't go right for his quarterback, Kenyon doesn't move. He is not a scramble drill expert. I feel like he really has some room for mental growth in those areas. How to help out your quarterback when things get ugly, and they often do in the NFL. The other concern with Kenyon Sadiq, of a couple ones, he is not the guy you might expect him to be when it comes to 50-50 balls. 5 for 9 in 2025, not given a ton of opportunities to win in these situations. And when he is, not really doing it at the rate you would expect of a 6'3", 200 and almost 40 pounder. And again, speaking of that size, he lacks elite NFL tight end size. At 6'3", 240, he's big man by your average numbers. Definitely be a huge receiver. But for a tight end, you worry about mismatches in blocking. Can he support against an edge? Again, he's not a great inline blocker. We talked about what he can do in space, which is phenomenal when he has size advantage against people and he's willing to participate in blocking. But inline, you really don't see it with Kenyon Sadiq. So his pass protection ability, his ability to support in the run game as a traditional inline tight end, just not really going to be there. And lastly, limited sample size with this guy. Just 1 year as a full-time starter. He was behind Rams' second-round draft pick Terrence Ferguson last season and contributed primarily as a backup. So the sample you have for him this year is phenomenal and productive, but it's a limited sample. You've only got 1 year of Kenyon Sadiq production. So here's my take on Kenyon overall. I think it kind of comes down to Travis Kelce at the end of the day. While I do think there is a case for investing in tight end in the first round if Kelce decides to return, it is by far not what I would prefer to see the Chiefs do. I think there are other options that you could attack later in this draft. I don't think Sadiq is a generational enough tight end prospect that you have to go grab him if Kelce says, you know what, I'm ready to come back. But if Kelce tells you, I'm good, man. Me and Taylor, we're having a great time. We're ready to ride off into the sunset and prepare for album number 37. Then maybe you do go with Kenyon Sadiq in the first round. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense in my opinion. But I think first round value isn't there with tight end if Kelce does decide to return. You can address that in the second or even the third. Number 2, target for the Kansas City Chiefs. And man, this would be so fun. Jeremiyah Love. If you're not familiar with the Notre Dame running back and fellow St. Louis native, shout out the 314, Jeremiyah Love is fantastic. This dude is a walking highlight reel. He really is. And I know you hear that a lot, and it's often an exaggeration, but it just isn't with Jeremiyah Love. And he's been this way for years. Like I said, he is a St. Louis native, as am I. Just a couple years younger than me, but he used to torment my high school when he was at Christian Brothers College, or CBC. Down with CBC. Not a huge fan of those guys. And he's a big part of the reason why. He's phenomenal, and he makes guys look silly. He's been doing it since high school, and he was doing it at Notre Dame all year long. I don't think anything encapsulates it quite like this spin move, which I wish I could show you guys the whole video in this play against Pitt, but oh my goodness. He breaks through the middle, sees that deep safety dropping in on him, and just spins this dude out of his shoes straight into a linebacker, breaks away for a touchdown. My gosh, man. That is just something you don't see in Kansas City. We don't have breakaway potential like that in our running back room right now. We just lack an explosive element and the fun plays that you can get with Jeremiyah Love. I want you to think about what we got from our running back room in 2025. And you don't have to think too hard. We're going to pull the numbers up for you. 281 carries, 1,048 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, less than 4 yards per carry. And I want you to look at that last number. Just one carry of 20 or more yards. That is a 0.3% rate of explosive runs. And you guys know I'm a stats guy, if you've been around here a lot. So I try to find what would be a fun comparison for a stat like that. And what I came up with is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm going to share it with you guys in a minute because you guys, you're not going to want to miss this. This stat is going to make you fall out of your seat about the Chiefs' run game. But first, we've got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Omaha Steaks. You guys know you can't beat the value and the quality at Omaha Steaks, and you guys know I love this stuff. Right now, I'm actually wrapping up the day here at Chat Sports. Me and Ponzi finishing up our video. And then I'm heading home, and the fiance sent me a text. Kylie sent me a text. She said, Omaha steaks for dinner tonight, ? And I could not respond yes fast enough. Because whether it's the steaks, the juicy burgers, or the jumbo-style franks, I love them all, and they are all delicious. It is unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Right now is the perfect time to save on delicious gifts and holiday hosting favorites as well, because, guys, I've got an exclusive deal for you. Just for our Chiefs Report viewers, nobody else can access this. The Kingdom is going to get an extra $35 off, and this is with promo code Chiefs at checkout. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code Chiefs at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code Chiefs at checkout. Terms to apply. See site for details, and the link will be in the description and the pinned comment for more. And if you do go check out Omaha Steaks, once again, make sure to use promo code Chiefs to save yourself $35 and support the channel. Now, for what you've been waiting for, the unbelievable stat about the Kansas City Chiefs run game. So, you watching this video, if you applied to Harvard right now, you have a 10 times better chance of getting in to arguably the most prestigious academic institution in the entire world than the Kansas City Chiefs do of carrying for more than 20 yards anytime they run the football. Let that sink in. Let it sink in. Ruminate on that for just a minute, to use a word that might get you into Harvard. But you know who has no problem carrying for more than 20 yards? You know who has no problem generating explosive plays? Jeremiyah Love. 199 carries this season for Notre Dame. 1,300 yards, nearly 1,400 yards on the ground. An average of 7 yards per carry. Think about that compared to our 3.7 for a running back room. Gosh, would that be nice. 21 total touchdowns from this dude. He's electric, man. He is electric. Talk about the strengths. Number one, this guy is track fast, like unbelievably fast. In Missouri, he was a state champion sprinter, and that background has not gone away. He has track speed, true track speed, and explosiveness. He gets out in a hurry. And when he's going, he retains just unbelievable body control. And he's got an arsenal of spin moves, juke moves, hesitation moves, everything in the bucket to make you miss. And speaking of just versatile talent, he's got the skill set as a receiver out of the backfield as well. You can use this guy. You can even line him up out wider in the slot. He does have that kind of a route tree. He is that kind of, this is a Notre Dame graduate. He is very intelligent. He's a quick learner, somebody that could easily master a versatile set of skill sets. And lastly, again, going back to the body control and the speed, this guy is rare to go down on first contact. He's going to fight you for extra yardage. He's got the strength. He's got the athleticism to move the pile. Moving on to the concerns, though, and I only have 3 with him. And number one is a big one. It really is. When you watch Jeremiyah Love's tape, what you don't see is pass protection. It's not something Notre Dame asks him to participate in very often, and when they do, he isn't very good at it, which probably is why they don't ask him to do it. But to be a true 3-down back at the NFL level, you have to be a pass protector. You have to learn how to block. So that's something that Jeremiyah is going to have to be willing to improve at, and something his lack of ideal frame and size is going to affect his ability to do. If you want Jeremiyah Love to be a workhorse, he's not really that guy. I think Jeremiyah Love absolutely has explosive play potential, but he's never going to be a Derrick Henry level volume guy. That's going to get Jeremiyah Love hurt unless he adds to that frame very quickly, and questions about whether or not that frame is maxed out. Lastly, he's occasionally loose with the ball. Although he has never fumbled in his college career, you do sometimes see moments with Jeremiyah Love where he's loose with the football, just especially when he's going for a move. And I feel like more skilled athletes, better defensive players at the NFL level will take advantage Something I think he'll correct quickly once someone punches it out, gets hit with one Peanut Tillman, pop. But definitely a concern for Jeremiyah Love. My take on Jeremiyah, excellent fallback. Beautiful fallback. Something that if you wind up with Jeremiyah Love, you absolutely could not, you can't be upset about it. This is a guy that is going to be great. But if there are better players on the board, I think I'd take Kenyon Sadiq over him. I would absolutely take the guy we're going to talk about next over him. And there's a number of defensive players that I would also consider over him, who we'll talk about in a minute. But Jeremiyah Love, if all those guys are off the board, brilliant fallback option. Somebody that could add a ton of explosiveness to this running back room. But you wonder about how the offensive line comes together in front of him. I don't think it's going to quite be an Ashton Genty situation, but we've seen how important it is that a line is there for a great running back this year in Vegas. Let's move on, though. In just a minute, I'm going to tell you guys about my favorite prospect for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2026 NFL Draft. This guy is a total game changer. A guy who I think would just elevate this roster enormously. But before we get into him, I need you guys to hit that subscribe button, because this is only the beginning of our offseason content here on the Chiefs Report. This is our first video that is entirely about the offseason, and we have got tons more coming. Believe it, believe it, believe it, my friends. These are coming in droves. We've got a mock draft that I'm working on right now that I'm currently putting together for you guys. And all of that will be out very soon. You don't want to miss a thing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But before we get into our final target, let's talk about a few guys that narrowly missed this list that we'll absolutely be talking about in some of those future videos you're subscribing for. Number one, Mekhi Lemon. This is a very interesting receiver out of USC. We'll talk about another receiver in just a minute. And I went with him over Lemon because Lemon's just a little bit too stylistically similar to some of our guys, but still somebody that is very interesting to talk about. Number two, Keldrick Falk, edge out of Auburn. This guy is really fun. One of my producer on this video, Ponzi, this is his biggest draft crush in the entire 2026 NFL Draft, and there is very good reason for that because he is phenomenally talented and someone that could elevate this defense. We'll be talking about him in a defensive targets video. Someone else that'll be in that video, 100%, Clemson's Peter Woods, defensive tackle, somebody that could potentially be the heir to Chris Jones. Lastly, another guy I know Ponzi loves, producer Ponzi, big Texas Tech guy, David Bailey, guns up. He's been fantastic for a team that has made the postseason this year, actually leads the entire country in sacks. So somebody that could really add some pressure and some sack potential to this Chiefs defensive front, something that's been a massive issue all year long. And lastly, when you talk about guys on the edge, you've got to talk about the number one prospect on most people's boards at that position, Arvell Reese. Ohio State guy. Talk about another Ohio State guy in a minute. But Reese, probably not there when we draft, unless we just tank out for the rest of the season. But certainly somebody that, if he slides, would be a wonderful pick for Kansas City. Another wonderful pick for Kansas City, though, my third and final prospect that we're really going to deep dive on today, Carnell Tate, out of Ohio State. The Ohio State. Excuse me. Sorry, Buckeyes fans. But this guy would be a game changer. A total game changer for Kansas City. The new number one for Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. This is the guy that you bring in to change what we talked about when we were previewing the Chargers game. We talked about the difficulties we've had getting separation for our receivers over the last couple games. Why the passing offense has stalled out so much. It isn't on Mahomes. I know the numbers don't look good, but he needs that go-to guy. And guys, this is the go-to guy in this draft. This is the guy that stylistically matches exactly what Kansas City needs as an outside weapon. And the production backs it up. 48 receptions for 838 yards, almost 18 yards per catch, and 9 touchdowns. And I need you to remember that is with arguably the best receiver in the entire country across from him, taking up a huge chunk of volume. He's still that productive. He's still that great with Jeremiah Smith on the other side. Unbelievable stuff. Let's talk strengths. This dude is the best route runner in the class. One of the best route runners I've evaluated in a long time at the college level. He has excellent feel for spacing in zone coverage, something we talked about with Kenyon Sadiq that's room for growth, is something that Tate comes in ready-made on. His understanding for coverage, his understanding for spacing, beautiful. And another thing that he's better at than Kenyon Sadiq, this dude is a true 50-50 ball winner. 12 for 14 on contested catches in 2025. And you just see this dude go up and snatch it. He's got strong hands. Secondly, scramble drill master. This dude is excellent in these situations. Always has a feel and an understanding for when his quarterback is in trouble and how to help his guy out when those situations come up. Something we often see from Patrick Mahomes and something that our receivers have struggled to do. And lastly, he's a phenomenal separator. You go back to point number one, this guy's routes are unbelievable, and he uses them to create the separation needed. You see it time and time again. He knows how to manipulate defenders. He knows how to win with his cuts. Unbelievable stuff. So technically refined for a college player. What you worry about with Carnell? He lacks top-end speed. That's really the number one concern for him. I worry, is that separation ability going to be the same at the NFL level with better athletes? Can he still use that technical refinement to win? I think he can. I believe in this guy a lot, but it is absolutely a valid concern that he does not have the kind of top-end speed you typically project from a receiver one. And two, he doesn't really have that size in terms of weight either. He's 6'3", so height's absolutely there. But you'd like to see him fill the frame out a little bit. He's 195 pounds right now, and I think he could be closer to 210 to be a more physical receiver, somebody who wins at the release point. Because I worry if you can get hands on him early right now, he's not quite Xavier Worthy levels of this, absolutely not, but a little bit of that Xavier Worthy profile of you worry about bigger, more physical corners who love to jam at the line against Carnell Tate at the NFL level. And also, continuing on that size conversation, I think that contributes to why this guy does not like run blocking and why he doesn't participate in it really at all at Ohio State. And that's not going to be acceptable at the NFL level. That doesn't fly. You know what I mean? As a receiver, you have got to be willing and able to participate in the run blocking scheme. And I think adding size, but also coaching Tate on how to do that will be a huge part of his development and of his growth. But my take on Carnell, I know it's kind of obvious already just from how much I've glazed him throughout this. He's a game breaker, guys. He's somebody I would love to see Kansas City take. I worry he won't be there when we get on the board. Like right now we're projected at 12. I worry he's not going to be there at 12. This guy might be a top 10 pick. But if he's there, man, I can't see anybody else that would improve this offense more than Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Absolutely phenomenal player. All right, I want to hear from you all, though. Who would you pick if you are sitting at number 12? You're Brett Veach today, first-round draft pick, 12th overall. All three of those guys are on the board. Are you going with the Oregon tight end that we talked about at the start of today's video, Kenyon Sadiq? Type KS in the comments. If you're going with my guy, you're going to join me. Type CT for Carnell Tate, the number one receiver out of Ohio State. But lastly, if you like the idea of going in the running back direction with the Heisman Trophy finalist Jeremiyah Love, type JL in the comments. Let me know. I want to hear from you guys. What direction are we leaning in the draft right now? But that's going to do it for us on today's episode of the Chiefs Report. Before you get out of here, make sure you hit that subscribe button because, again, like I said earlier, this is just the start of our offseason content. We've got a ton more on the way for you guys, whether it's perfect offseason plans, a mock draft that I'm cooking up for you guys, some more first-round targets, some second-round targets, maybe third-round targets. We are going to do it all, and it's right here on the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. Until then, let's go Kansas City Chiefs.